Like the goals just aren't goaling like I thought they would be by now. Hi guys, happy 2025. It is a brand new year, which means fresh start, new mindset, but it's actually already the end of January, and I don't know about you, but I feel like my goals aren't goaling like they should be by now. There's just been so much going on, I feel like, in January. Me personally, like I have just worked a ton already, so I feel a little bit behind in my personal life. And then I feel like everyone else in my life, like something has happened, some sort of setback. People have been sick. Almost everyone in my life has been sick. My boyfriend is sick in bed right now. This is his third time being sick this month. And obviously there's so much going on in the world. But that being said, I'm still really motivated to get my goals going and kind of treat January as a soft open for 2025 and look at February as more of a solid start to the new year. Kind of January was like a test run, like, okay, let's see how busy I am, what I can actually accomplish, and now in February, let's get going. But although I'm motivated right now, I know that's not going to carry me through the whole year. That hasn't in the past. There has to be more than just motivation to keep your goals going. And so I wanted to share with you my 5-step formula for planning, setting, and achieving your goals. This is what I'm going to be using this year. And I want to talk through my goals to hold myself accountable, but also kind of give some examples and really just let's get through this together. Let's get a good start in February. So get unstuck with me. Let's gain some clarity and some focus and set ourselves up for success in 2025. So if you didn't know, my name is Holland and I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada. I moved to California in August of 2023 and more recently moved in with my boyfriend here in LA. And I spent most of 2024 settling into this new life. There were a lot of adjustments and a lot of learning about myself last year. And after looking back and reflecting on it, I realized who I want to be this year and what I need to do to get there, what I need to focus on. I have a lot of things planned, of course, but mostly it involves financial planning, decorating this new place that we moved into together, and learning to cook and getting back into baking, and then a lot around personal style. So expect to see a lot more content focused around those things in the future. But I love watching and listening to yearly reset videos and podcasts, and I've been dabbling and perusing the goal setting scene for a few years now, so I kind of know what works for me and what doesn't. And these systems, or these systems of systems, are what I've used to be able to become the person I am today. And I love to share it, talk about it, chat about it, and how I'm implementing it this year. And it is my 5-piece formula for becoming the person that you want to be this year. Step 1 is having the tools and the resources. So I am a huge planner. I write down everything. I do have like a Google Calendar, and I also work in Notion sometimes, but pen to paper is just what works best for my brain. I'm very like task oriented. I love checking things off. I love writing lists on paper. It just sticks in my mind and like means so much more to me. I overthink a lot. My brain moves in like 10 different directions at all times. I actually recently learned that my boyfriend does not have an internal monologue, and I don't know what that's like. I literally have 10 different monologues at all times. It must be so peaceful in his mind. So for me, in order to properly plan, I need a really good planner or journal, somewhere to brain dump, somewhere to write down your goals, your habits, like habit track, write down any reflections, kind of journal. And also pen to paper has been proven to be more effective than just working off of a screen. It's kind of like writing a little contract with yourself. That's how I think about it. I feel like when you write things down with your hand, you're more likely to remember it, and it kind of goes into that world of manifesting and vision boarding, which we'll get to later. But one of my biggest tips is to write down your goals of the week at the beginning of the week that are associated with your quarterly or annual goals. Kind of space them out throughout the week so that you get them done throughout the week. Having these mini goals throughout the week make your bigger goals seem more digestible, more achievable. And at the end of the week, you can look back and see what you were able to accomplish and kind of build off of that. Or if you weren't able to, you can move it on to the next week and work on it then. But just making sure you're holding yourself accountable and getting it done when you can. We'll chat more about that later, because right now we're just talking about the tools and the resources. But my favorite planner right now is the productivity planner. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this before. I post it at least once a week, sometimes like daily, because I do use it daily. It was recommended to me by a close friend of mine. It's basically the perfect planner. It has a couple of basic prompts every day, what you're grateful for and what your intention for the day is. So they're simple, they're not overwhelming. It's good for like all levels of planning or journaling. There's also like a full note page, so you can also journal in this. You don't need like a separate journal for it. It's like a planner and journal in one. There's also cute quotes every day, like motivational quotes at the top. So a habit tracker at the beginning, write down what habits you want to keep up with and then check them off. Example page, but kind of like mark them off as you do them every day. And there's also weekly planning and reflection. So at the beginning of the week, you write down your goals for the week, and then at the end of the week, you can go through and kind of talks through your weekly wins, what tasks were completed, what have you learned, and that kind of thing. And I think it's just like a very approachable way of getting into planning. Another reason I love it is because it works for my brain and my lifestyle, because at work, my work schedule is so unpredictable. It changes not only every week, but every day. And I used to try to time block and stay productive and organized based on like Google calendars. Like I'd put in like, I'm gonna gym from 5 to 6 a.m. and then I'm gonna come home and shower and then I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But I could be called into work at any time of the day. So what this productivity planner does is that you write out your tasks for the day. So like your top 5 tasks, maybe even less if you think you can only get a couple done that day, and you rank them. So you write your most important task first, and then after that, like your secondary tasks, and then more if you think you can get more done. But you basically rank them on a scale of how important they are for you to get done that day. And if that like most important task was the only thing you were able to get done that day and you got it done, like would you feel productive? So like if for one day I was like, well, I really want to organize my closet, and if that's the only thing I get done that day, then I'll feel good about it. And there's no time associated with it, like no time of the day. It's kind of like the Pomodoro technique where you have like 25 minutes of focus time and then 5 minutes of break. This is just like a 30-minute focus time. You write down how many 30-minute sessions you think it'll take and then try to stick to that. So it could be like, this is my most important task, cleaning my closet. I think it'll take like 4 30-minute sessions. If that's all I get done today, I'll feel good about it. So that really works for me and my brain, because sometimes I would try to schedule myself out on Google Calendars and then something would come up and it would push me back in my calendar and I'd get so overwhelmed, like I'm way behind on my day and I'll be able to catch up when it's only like 7 a.m. But I would just feel like I failed the day if I fell behind, even though it wouldn't be my fault. Like it'd be like, I don't know, I fell behind on my Google Calendar schedule that I made for myself because of traffic, or yeah, I got called into work or something out of my control. And then I'd be like, well, guess my day is ruined, try again tomorrow. But this book makes it a lot more realistic for me. So that's why I love this one. In terms of like other planners, there's also the Mind Your Business Planner by Knits on Raider. That one's kind of similar to this one, but more, I think the prompts are more focused on if you're doing your own kind of side hustle or like you're an entrepreneur doing your own business. So that one's really cute too. There's also the bullet journal. I think that's kind of more an advanced journal. Even that's a little too much for me. I've done that in the past, but the bullet journal method, like there's a book associated with it and it's really cool. I think if you can spend the time to really put your brain and yourself into that, it is really organized and really motivating. But I've tried it in the past. It does just take like a lot of effort because you kind of have to write the whole planner journal yourself. So it's a little too much for me, but I do love that one. I'll link all of these things below. And then other resources I would recommend are some good books, some good motivating books. The first one I'd say is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think everyone has heard of this book. It is so good. It talks a lot about obviously habits, how small changes make big results, and obviously so much more than that in this book. I'm currently rereading it. I have it right here. Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. I don't think I have to say too much about it because I feel like everyone already knows that book and knows how good it is. So there's that one. Another one is The Power of Habit by Duhigg, and that kind of talks more about the science behind habits and how our brain works with habits. And I talk about these books associated with habits because that's kind of aligned with goal setting. I feel like if you're trying to accomplish something like paying off your car or developing a new skill, you kind of need to put good habits into play to achieve that. So that's why I like the habits book, and I feel like that really applies to this. Another good book is Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks, and that's more about manifestation. And I know a lot of people aren't really into manifestation. There's like a big eye roll that people associate with that, but I believe in manifestation, and it's much more than just dreaming for your future. There's a lot more of like a mindset shift to it. There's a lot of being thankful for what you already have. And I've heard a lot of people who don't believe in manifestation read that book and now incorporating it into their own life. So, and then there's more books I'd recommend for like productivity, and that would be like Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. He's like a YouTuber. He was actually a doctor and then he turned YouTuber. He loves productivity and is obsessed with it, and I love his channel, and he actually wrote a book, and I think he's writing a second book now too. But that one's a really good one. And then another one would be The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. But it's basically about how you can set goals for a year and think about how you want to achieve it in like the next year. But actually, when you think about it, you can probably condense it into a 12-week period and accomplish it in just 12 weeks. There's more to it than that. And then lastly, for step 1, the tools and resources, we're going to talk about vision boards very briefly, because I'm sure you've heard of vision boards before. And again, it's probably one of those things where you're like, eye roll, but vision boards do work. Vision boards are linked to manifesting for sure. But again, it's about more than just wishing for your future or dreaming about it. It's actually proven to work. Vision boards are about normalizing our goals and dreams. I'll talk more about this on my Substack. I actually am going to have a Substack devoted to the same thing, where I get more into my goals, and I'll talk more about vision boards there as well, and kind of more of the background on it. But basically, by having your goals laid out in this like visual representation in front of you that you can reference repeatedly throughout the day, throughout the week, you're training your brain to focus on these things and recognize opportunities that align with and lead to achieving these goals. So they really work. I keep mine a mixture of like pictures, like either pictures that I took of things that I want to see in my future, but mostly like things from Pinterest, from Google search. Also like a mix of quotes and like numbers, for like finances and whatnot. And I create them on Canva. I think Canva is like the easiest way to do it. And I used to keep it as my phone background, like one of my phone backgrounds, because I have like different screens. But I feel like whenever I'm on my phone, I'm not like looking at my background. I'm usually like scrolling through Instagram or YouTube. So I think I'm actually gonna print it out and put it in my like office nook here. And then also have one as my computer screen background, because I never really use my computer like full, like what is it, like maximized screen, like full screen. I usually have like a small peek that I can see the background. So I believe that'll be more realistic for me moving into the future. But yeah, definitely just like have it anywhere that you can see it. Having the tools and resources, so a planner or journal, some books maybe to reference, and a vision board. This is how you set yourself up for becoming the best version of yourself for this year. Step 2, I'm calling the process. And in this step, we are looking at our life, cutting it into different categories, and determining what we want to focus our energy on this year. So I actually got this next part from Sif, who is co-founder of Array, who you probably know of from like their bloat pills. They're like the most popular product from that brand. And I use them all the time. Now they have a ton of other products out. They actually just came out with a creatine, which I also really want to buy. But anyways, she has a podcast and a YouTube. I'll link her YouTube below. But she has these episodes. She either talks on her own, her solo episodes, or she interviews someone, and they're all really motivating. She just talks about like self-growth, becoming the best version of yourself, linking her below. But basically she says that she organizes her life into different categories and rates each individual category on a scale of 1 to 10 on how satisfied she is with them, or like looking back in 2024, and then rates each of them on a scale of 1 to 10. And then after that, she takes the 3 categories that ranked lowest for her and kind of really focuses her energy on those for the first few months. For me, I know that I want to improve on every aspect of my life moving forward. I don't think there's any really big part, well, there was a few categories, I'm gonna talk about that later, that I feel like I really need to work on, but nothing that I feel like needs to get all of my attention. So I did rank all of them just because I want to see how I feel about them at the end of this quarter and the end of the year. I changed up my categories too. They're not the same as hers. Obviously yours will be different from mine. Not everyone has the same lifestyle, but for me, I have 8 categories. They are finances, health and fitness. Wait, actually, I'm gonna change that. It's called health and fitness, but I kind of want to change it to wellness because that's what we're doing in 2025. Wellness. Okay, let me say. They are finances, health and wellness, relationship, career, home, personal projects, spiritual health, and style and closet. I'm sure you're like, style and closet, is that like a whole area of your life? And yes, it is for me. It is in 2025. I'll put my rankings on Substack if you want to see how I rank them, but these are all the areas that I want to focus on in 2025. Again, I am so motivated by the new year, but for someone who isn't me, this might look really overwhelming or super type A to cut your life into these like categories and focus on all of these things at one time. So I would say like take your top 3 or do what like Sif did. Take your bottom 3 are the ones that you want to focus on the most for the next few months and create goals based on that. By looking at my life like this, I feel like and tackling something in each area of my life, I feel like I'm a little more well-rounded, and that this is like a form of self-care to me. It makes sure that I'm not just focusing on something like career or finances and totally leaving like spiritual health in the dust, like changing anything in my health and wellness. I just like to know that I am kind of improving in each area of my life. It might not be something huge, but being able to say to myself, well, at least I'm getting somewhere with this in this area, then it just makes me feel a lot better and more well-rounded. So that's it for step 2, the process. It's really just about looking at your life and making sure that you're focusing your energy on what is important to you and what you think needs the most focus for you moving forward in 2025. So then step 3 I'm calling the new me. And this is the fun part because it's all about figuring out who you want to be for this year. Who do I want to be when I grow up? Like I said, I have multiple goals for all of these categories and I'm going to list them all on Substack. So I won't go over all of them here because that would take forever. But basically how I do this is kind of like everyone else, I'm sure. I just kind of have some big goals for the year. Like I want to pay off my car, I want to get back into baking, I want to read a bunch of books, go on a bunch of trips, that kind of thing. And then I kind of organize them into each category. It just makes me feel more organized in my brain because I'm not thinking like, ooh, I really want to go on this trip, but oh, I also really want to advance at work, but I also really want to save a lot of money. It's like, how am I gonna do this? It becomes a little chaotic in my brain. Again, writing things down, that always works for me. But then I kind of think of them as more realistic, almost like SMART goals. If you haven't heard of like SMART goals before, I think you make goals that are sustainable. Wait, let me see. My sister just texted me. Okay, SMART goals, sustainable. Nope. Yep. Wait. If you haven't heard of SMART goals before, so they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So basically like realistic that you can achieve them. So for example, for like the reading books thing, like I really want to read a book a month. And honestly, like January is almost over and I'm not really that far into my first book at all, but we'll get to that later. Stuff like that. Or, you know, I want to bake once a week and or cook once a week. So after I make these goals that I know I can achieve in the next year, I cut them into quarterly goals because I feel like they're just more digestible and I'm more likely to stick to them and get them done. Plus by cutting them into like these quarterly goals, you allow yourself some wiggle room, some kind of like a safety net almost. If something comes up or if something happens, some things change, then I don't feel like my whole goal for the year is like totally derailed. Like I can reassess my goal after those 3 months or 12 weeks and say, you know, like that's not working for me, I need to change my goal, or hey, I already accomplished that goal, like let's do a new one. So I think that that's kind of more realistic for the year. But my biggest mindset hack for this step is identifying with your goal. So instead of saying like I want to read 12 books this year or 1 book a month, it's I am a reader for 2025. So I think for me, having that kind of mindset shift really allows me to put myself in that brain or that mind of someone who is that. Like instead of being like, well, I want to read 1 book a month or 12 books this year, it's kind of like feeling kind of wishy-washy and like yeah I'll get to it kind of thing. But if I associate it with being a reader, then I'm gonna do what a reader does and I'm gonna bring my book with me wherever I go, hopefully a Kindle next month for my birthday is what I'm asking for. And I'm gonna read in my spare time. I'm gonna read before bed. I'm gonna read when I wake up. I'm a reader, so that's what a reader does. Or something like a big one for me, which has really been a mind hack for me, is about like my finances. So I think everyone knows that I love to shop. Retail therapy has gotten me through these years, but in 2025, I am financially responsible. So I actually had a meeting with a financial advisor this morning and it was really empowering having that mindset and having that new identity of in 2025, I am financially responsible. It really makes me want to embody that. And that is kind of cool to say, like financially responsible, that sounds like so adult. Like there is no higher adulting than being financially responsible, I feel. So by saying that, I'm like, okay, I am that person. I will do those things that are financially responsible, like meeting with a financial advisor, like maxing out my 401k, which I only a few months ago realized what that was. Hey, I'm from Canada, so we don't have 401k. But by making those mindset shifts, you already identify with it, with this habit or with this person that you want to be. You'll take pride in it and act based on those values that that person you are identifying with would have. I'll throw in one more. Again, like I'll list more of these on my Substack, but another big one for me is personal style. So my kind of like, I guess you can almost say it's like an affirmation, but in 2025, I have a closet that represents me and my style. You know, 2024 was a big year of spending and also of like selling and donating a lot of old clothes that I don't wear anymore, just like aren't me and that I've had since university. But I'm basically trying to revamp my wardrobe now that I finally figured out like who I want to be and what works for me and what doesn't. There's been a lot of unfortunate big purchases that I don't associate with and just like don't look good on me and I thought would change my life, but were just very expensive, pointless purchases. And I will talk about that in the future, but for now, I think a big thing for me was like logging a lot of my clothes into the Index app, which again, I'll talk about more in the future. I had a lot of trial and error. Now I think I get it. And this year I am so excited to have a wardrobe that is just the true me. But that's what this whole third step is about. That's why I call it the new me, because it's not just about setting goals, it's about identifying with them and acting as that person as if you already are them, because that's it. That's 2025. That's who we are now. Okay, and then step 4. Step 4 is called the commitment, because we got to stick to it. And it really just comes down to 2 things. That is your why and your systems. So your why is your guiding light. It what gives you direction. And without it, it's too easy to just give up on your goals. And then we have your systems, and your systems are what take you there. They're the methods that you're using to achieve your goal. And without your systems, it's hard to stay on track to get to your goal. So it's important to have both of these things, and I revisit them as often as I do my goals. My whys right now are my boyfriend, for sure. I am obsessed with him and he deserves the world. We deserve to just be happy, and I want to do everything in my power to make him happy and get us there. So he is a big why for me. Another thing is yourself is your why, and I just feel very grateful for this life. I think just having worked in hospitals for years and hearing so many stories, it just makes me feel truly lucky to have my health and to have grown up where I did and to be able to have this life and all these opportunities. So I think it's almost like rude to like not jump on all the opportunities that you have and to like live life to the fullest, because there's so many people who this life that I'm living now, like this is their dream life. We can do anything and it's so powerful. So just do it. So those are my whys. And so then when we talk about systems, we talk about kind of setting your life, I don't want to say on autopilot because that sounds really sad and boring, but it's more just about allowing your goals and your methods of getting there kind of automated so you don't have to work hard at them every day. Well, let me explain more. Basically, we're going to have these systems where we are able to stay on track for our goals. So there's 3 main systems I'm going to talk about that allow you to get to where you want to go with your goals. One of them is habit stacking, one of them is environmental design, and the other is accountability buddies. So the first one is habit stacking. It's about associating an old habit with a new one. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to have apple cider vinegar every day. Obviously not like a huge goal. That's crazy for 2025, but it's something I want to incorporate into my daily practice, and I'm trying to have that with my first meal before my breakfast coffee. So that's kind of what I'm associating with. I'm like, whenever I make breakfast or before I even have coffee, when I'm like thinking that I want coffee, I'm like, wait, I want to have my apple cider vinegar first. So kind of like associating it with that. Or I really want to get into running this year, and I've actually well, I've kind of injured myself, but whatever. My friend introduced me to this thing. You can like Google it. It's called like Couch to 5K, and it's like the 6-week program for running 3 times a week to achieve like running 5K. Well, there's no time limit, but I'd like to do 5K in under 30 minutes and eventually 10K in under an hour. Recently I injured myself, so I'm kind of paused on that, but I do go to the gym at least 3 times a week, and I've been doing other forms of cardio except for running, but I'm already at the gym. I might as well switch out one of those for running, and boom, there we go, achieving that goal. Working towards it. So it's kind of just about taking a habit you already do and then stacking a new one onto it or changing it out. The next one is environmental design, and this is basically just setting yourself up for success by creating an environment that aligns with your goals or allows you to achieve that goal easier. So one thing for me is I want to eat more leafy greens. It's crazy because like I will look back and think, did I even eat anything green yesterday? And even today I haven't eaten anything green. There's definitely greens in my fridge, I just don't prep them enough and I don't put them as part of a meal enough. So environmental design for me will be making sure that I have greens prepped and ready like Sunday night, so that throughout the week I can easily just reach for them and go, and or have like salads ready so I can just grab them and go, because after a busy day at work I do not want to wash greens and cut them up and then make a salad. Like that is the last thing I want to do. So I think it's just setting myself up for success in that way. Another common one is having everything for the gym laid out the night before so that the next morning you spend less time dilly-dallying and you kind of just have everything laid out for the gym. So you wake up, get dressed, have your protein, have whatever ready, you can just go out the door right away. And then the third system is having an accountability buddy, which I used to not really believe in before because I was like, well, I can achieve goals on my own. Like I don't need to rely on anyone, or I don't need to include anyone else in this. Like I can do it on my own. But I actually have incorporated, I've recruited 2 buddies to help me with shopping less, and it has really helped. I actually opened up to my boyfriend and asked him to like kind of check in with me because I really do want to shop less. It is a problem. It is a problem. problem. He has really helped being someone who is like a no nonsense ear who I can just talk to, and he can be like, why do you feel like you need to buy these things? Or why do you feel like you need to buy them now? Why can't you wait a few weeks, see how you feel? Like, why does it have to be a right now thing? So it's really helped me reflect in that way. And then another accountability buddy I have for this is my sister. She's been through something similar. So she is more of like a sympathetic ear than like a no nonsense ear, but she has that experience. And so she can kind of help me maneuver that mindset as well. But another option would be to find someone who is going through it at the same time as you. Or another thing would be like, I'm also taking a Spanish class, and just having a teacher and a class that I go to every day versus just like Duolingo. I'm actually paying money to see a teacher who assigns homework and checks in with us every week. So that's like another thing, another accountability thing that I'm doing, another system that kind of helps me along the way and helps me achieve my goals. And so I have these systems in place where I just have to go through the motion because I already set them up and I'm going to get to my goals. And before we move on to the last system, I just want to talk about motivation, because I kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the video. And while yes, motivation is a big component of goal setting and achieving them and getting you there, motivation is really just a feeling. You know, for me, like my feelings can be all over the place. Feelings come and go. So showing up for your goals, like staying committed, like knowing your why, having these systems in place, that's what carries you to the next level. That's what carries you through. That's what gets you to achieving these goals. It's not your motivation, because that comes and goes, unfortunately. And I think if you reframe it in a way where you think about it kind of like work, where work sends you a schedule and you go to work. Like, you wouldn't call in to work and be like, you know what, I'm just like not feeling it today. Although a lot of us would like to do that, but that's not what we do. And I think you just have to take your goals seriously and treat things the same way. Like, I never call into my Spanish classes and be like, you know, I'm just not feeling it today. Or the gym, a lot of times you're not feeling it, but you still gotta go. These goals are you. They're what make you who you are and what make you happy and bring you joy. So when you don't put your time into it and stay committed to it like you do for work, then you're just doing a disservice to yourself. So that comes down to prioritizing, definitely more so than motivation. It's about prioritization and determination. And there's that quote that says, action expresses priorities. That always hits me, because when I look back at my schedule, I want to be proud of what I've accomplished for the week, and I want it to be obvious what my priorities are. So that's why I set up my priorities for the week. I set up my goals, I set up my systems, and then that brings us to the next point. Actually, I'll tell a story about how last week I kind of lost the commitment. I lost sight of my why, and I lost my system. I did 12 days in a row at work, and the first half of that I was sticking to my journal and my planning, but halfway through I was just trying to survive. Definitely busy days at work. I was basically waking up, going to the gym, work, coming home, eating a bit, and sleeping, and that was kind of the last 6 days. Because of that, I had mental breakdowns. I was just so exhausted, mostly just emotional, because I felt like is this it? Like, I just lost sight of my goals, my vision. I know that I should have stuck to writing in my planner or journal, because that last week I didn't do anything other than work and gym, but I wasn't like productive in any of those 8 categories for sure. I just was again like in survival mode. But I know if I had set out even just a couple of small tasks, stuck to planning / journaling, focused on my why, and had some systems in place, I would have felt so much better at the end of the week. I think a lot of my emotional breakdowns were because I just felt so lost and just feel like I wasn't getting anywhere in life. Like, when I feel stagnant, that's when I get really upset. It was a really good life lesson for me, because now I know that moving forward, no matter how busy the weeks are at work, I have some systems in place. If I'm looking at my why, if I have my goals laid out for the week, I'm gonna feel accomplished no matter what. So that is what I'm taking with me into February. And that is why knowing your why, having your systems in place so that you can achieve your goals, writing them out, these are all important, not just for achieving them, getting to where you want to be and becoming the person that you want to be, but also avoiding being the person that you don't want to be. And I don't want to be that person that just goes to and from work, and I don't want to be that person that has like mental breakdowns because they're lost sight of their goals. That was a good lesson for me. Okay, the last step is step 5, and that is the follow-up and the reflection. So check in with yourself often. We're writing down these goals and we're checking in. This is arguably one of the most important steps. You can write down all these goals, all these habits for the year, dream up who you want to be, but if you aren't checking in with yourself and reflecting, then you're not going to get anywhere. If you don't follow up, then all of this is going to waste. So I try to do this weekly. My check-in day is Sunday. Sometimes that's tough with like scheduling, so maybe Saturday or maybe Monday night, at least every 2 weeks. Because if you think about it, if we're breaking down our annual goals into these quarterly goals, these 3-month long or like 12-week long goals, you're only checking in with yourself 6 times for that whole time. So at least every 2 weeks, hopefully every week. Time flies. It's important to check up on yourself, reflect, see what's working for you, what isn't. And this is about being honest with yourself and, you know, celebrating your wins, but also figuring out what really didn't work for you and is this going to work for you? Is this realistic for you? And trying to change it so that it can work for you in the next little bit. So we're checking in, we are reflecting, we're making little adjustments as we need to, and we're learning along the way. And that's how we become the person that we want to be for 2025. So that's it, you guys. I hope this helped you in setting some goals for 2025 or figuring out who you want to be for 2025 and how you're going to get there. Let me know if this was helpful and if any specific tips stood out to you. And also let me know what your goals are for 2025 and who you want to be this year, because like I said, I find this so motivating hearing people talk about their goals, what they're doing to be the best version of themselves for this year. I love like annual resets and all those kind of things. So also check out my Substack, because I will be talking more about my goals on there, and also just having this in kind of a written form so it's easier to reference and maybe easier to look at for some of you. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.